What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're jumping right back into some Marvel Future Fight content, specifically looking at the update details for the mid-month February 28th up for this. Well, actually, excuse me, this week is March 5th for the March 5th update. That's how bad I've been this week in terms of getting over this cold, whatever the hell it is. So not a whole lot to get to, but a lot of excitement to get to. We've got two characters receiving uniforms and both receiving upgrades in their power. That is Ronan the Accuser and Silver Surfer. So both these character kits look pretty good, so I'm pretty excited about them. Let's go over Ronan first, because I think he's probably the one least concerned. To be quite honest with you guys, we've gotten a lot out of this Annihilators update in terms of, you know, looking at the character list that we've gotten. I'm pretty excited about it. There's some drops I think people, you know, probably wish were achieved, but it is what it is, you know what I mean? So let's be honest about this. Any update to Ronan at this point is going to be beneficial. Like, that's just the truth of the matter. He's going to be receiving his tier 3 upgrade. So already, just off the bat, that's going to be a big thing for him. So this is Ronan's most recent uniform, the Marvel Studios Captain Marvel. These are the old ones that he had, the Guardians of the Galaxy and Annihilators uniform. I expect that the new uniform, you know, from the looks of it, is going to look probably more akin to this, but an updated version. You can see even says here Annihilation. So this uniform would have been more appropriately for when he was actually with the Annihilators. So this was the uniform from Marvel Studios Captain. Real important to take a look at this effect on his uniform, because now he's going to be getting an ignore target dodge rate by 25% and an increased basic damage dealt to super villain and superhero factions by 40% here. So, and that's going to apply to all universal types. So really important, because that uniform is going to squarely peg him into putting him, like, you know, specifically inside PvE, PvP support type character. And it gets even better too, because on Ronan's leadership ability, we're going to see a difference here in terms of, well, actually it still stays the same. I thought it was going to be different. So he still keeps the universal type 50 and 30. So basically with that increase all basic attack, the 50, the dodge rate, the superhero, Ronan's basically becoming a support character in and of his own right. Probably like a support DPS, which kind of works out right, because he's already going to be sitting in a tier 3, so you using him as the lead DPS, probably at this point, they probably know no. So he's really settling into that role as a support type. So then we get hostile adaptation is going to get a little bit of increase to 30%. So still keeps the super armor. He gets to increase all basic defenses by 30% now. And then his Kree Justice is going to be called Accuser's Authority. So this one a little weird, because the ignore target's dodge rate right here, you can see that was sitting on the skill is now going to be on the uniform with a little bonus of 5% there. Then the decreased basic damage received. You still keep that, but you gain an increased skill damage by 35% and an increased bonus damage by 30%, which applies to himself. So that's nice, right? So he's still, like I said, DPS type support type character basically is what they're building out here in terms of an archetype. And then we get hammer charge on this one, still hammer charge, but there's nothing really there. Stun for 3 seconds is still there. The big thing that I noticed that I'm a little concerned with is the decrease in the energy damage is, you know, is energy damage of energy attack. Now it's going to be physical damage, 146% of energy attack, which should be interesting. Excuse me. It's going to be 60% of energy attack. So it's a big decrease there, because it's basically going to be like nearly cut in half. But then the additional damage is like 356. I don't have the time to do the numbers on that, but you know, you've basically decreased this by more than half to increase that by a little bit over. It's a little weird. So we've seen that before, and that's kind of what has me a little bit nervous. You're increasing this by half, but this is decreasing by half. We'll see how that plays out. That's the problem with a lot of Marvel Future Fight, in my opinion, is that on sheet, the characters could look good, but until we actually see the skills, how they play, how many hits they have, hard to tell. So his next skill, his 2-skill Universal Hammer, is now going to be called the Accuser's Hammer. So he loses the barrier here. He gains stun for 3 seconds, and then he also gains paralysis, which ignores immunity. And he gets energy damage, 85% of energy attack, but he's also dealing an additional 356 energy damage. So a big difference here in terms of like 5% and then the additional energy damage. You can tell like that's way more than the additional 29 energy damage that he had. So up next, his third skill, which was Merciless Gavel, is now going to be called Universal Shield. He keeps the snare, but it's increased to 2 seconds. He recovers 5% HP to all allies. So I'm interested in how this effect is going to work, because more than likely, is this going to put Ronan really into a support type character, plus maybe putting him as a true like ally type character? Because if this basically becomes one of the skills that's activated when he comes in, you basically get the Groot like effect where he recovers the 5% HP when he comes in. We'll have to see how that plays out and if that's the skill that's chosen. We get to increase all basic attacks and defenses by 45%, 5, and then 35 for speed and critical rate. And he also, like you said, removes incapacitation. We get energy damage, 50% of energy attack. Previously had the mind damage, but that's removed, and then he gets an additional 72% energy damage on the skill as well. Next up is going to be the Law Enforcer skill. Major changes here, right? So he gets the stun, he gets the incapacitation, he gets the paralysis, 100% chance to grant all damage immunity. He gets his accumulation effect for 10% of pure damage when attacking, 1% increase all basic attacks. So big jump. This is what I mean by that. And then on his fifth skill, Judgment Call. So it looks like we're gonna lose out on the tapping and hold skill icon charge. So like we're losing that, you know, that continuous damage burst that's inside there. A little sad, right? Because it's a little sad. I mean, yeah, I think it's a little sad, because I think that was one of the things about some of those old character kits, especially like Ronan, where he would just have so much feasibility in terms of like a Shadowland type character to be able to use that skill, but now we lose it. We only get stun, we get fear, we get to decrease all basic defenses for 45 up to 45. We get the invincible for 3 seconds, and we get to increase all basic attack by 25% inside the skill. So you can see we're losing out on quite a bit here, because especially like the recovery is removed from here. We don't get the application to all allies here for the increase all basic attack like that, and that's not even pushed anywhere onto the other piece of the kit. You could say that the increase right here, the frenzy buff, was pushed over to the third skill. And so that's about it. And then the all damage immunity that was here is pushed over to Law Enforcer. So a lot of what was inside of his fifth skill that made it really good inside this uniform is now given over to his 3 and 4 basic skills inside there. So, you know, depends on how you look at it, you know, but I think overall the main usage for this character is going to be support type DPS. So Ronan's also getting his tier 3, like I said, so that's going to play out over here in this little window. I wish they would do something better than these little Giphy windows for this and just plaster a video. But he's gonna gain stun, fracture, and paralysis all for 3 seconds. The paralysis does ignore immunity on his ultimate, and then he does get an 80% chance to penetrate, invincible, and then increase basic damage by 100% for 1 attack. So that's not bad at all. You know, it's your standard tier 3 at this point, to be perfectly honest. But let's jump into Silver Surfer Void Knight, which I think is going to be everybody's bread and butter. It's one of the reasons why I haven't tier 4'd Beta Ray Bill or Guardian, because I had if they would have screwed this up, it would have just been one of those things. But I just had the feeling that this was going to come. There was absolutely just no way that you were getting away from having Silver Surfer as part of the Guardians, as part of the Annihilators join the team. So I just knew he was coming as the mid-month. So I didn't do that for fear of, hey, like, I think most of us could go inside our materials rank list and be like, hey, I don't have enough materials basically to like do this. So like right now I have like probably just enough to tier 4 one native tier 2 character like Silver Surfer. So it would have been a choice, right, between one of the other native tier 2s or, you know, Silver Surfer. And to be honest with you, I thought there was going to be more for Silver Surfer, so I stayed with that. So the uniform effect, let's take a look at this. Increase all basic attacks. This applies to himself, still applies to himself. He's going to get increase all basic attack of 30%. So a big jump up there from 20 to from 10 to 30. And then we get super armor, increase all basic defenses by 40%. So just innate on the kit alone from his uniform effect, already you're seeing that he's going to get really, really beefy just from the uniform purchase inside there. Not bad. Can't say that we're starting out bad at all. So now let's take a look at his other his leadership and his passives. So excuse me, guys. So first up, we've got Cosmic Resurgence, right? So Cosmic Resurgence, he's now going to revive with 80% of his max HP instead of 60%. Bonus there overall. It's always nice to have a hero revive with more HP than none. And then we look at his passive skill, Hand of the Herald. So we get the immunity incapacitation effect, still stays there. And then we get the 5% increase from the 25 to 30 for reflex up to, of damage received. And so instead it's going to be up to 30% of the max attack. And then he's going to get decreased basic damage received by 30% here. So like that decrease overall from this, nice. The increase here is a little minimal, but it is nice as well. Like nearly a third of the attack now is going to be reflected. That's good. You can't complain about it at all. So let's take a look at Silver Surfer's leadership overall inside here. Probably necessarily one of the things that I think that you were like worried about with his leadership, but whatever. Spatial Cleanse was his leadership, still the same, pretty much removes all debuffs for 12 seconds, and he gets that still frenzy buff on his leadership, which applies to all allies. And you can see now it's going to be increased to 30, 30, and 1. So nice 10%, like just the uniform purchase alone in terms of leadership, passives, and effect are going to say that this is going to probably be a uniform you want to purchase if you're playing. Now, when I get into these skills, you're going to see even more where on paper, he has the ability to probably be the mightiest of PvP characters. So let's jump in. So nothing really on his first skill, which is Galaxy Slice, stays the same. Stun 2 seconds. That's it. Energy damage stays the same, but we do get an uptick inside of his energy damage. So nice little buff there in terms of that, but it's a very minimal buff in terms of calculation, so nothing there. Next up, we get Cosmic Blast, his 2 skill. This is going to change to Parasite Hammer. The stun here was only for 0.5 seconds. He's going to increase that stun to 3 seconds. I never even noticed that the stun was only for 0.5 seconds, funny enough. Anyways, but then we get the 50% chance of missing attack is gone. We don't have that anymore, right? I mean, we rotated into the 2 skill, so it's like a little weird, but I don't think we ever really noticed the benefit of the 50% chance of missing an attack. So his energy damage is going to be increased to 120, and then he gets the additional energy damage 182 on that 2 skill. So still a buff, right? The cooldown time on that is still 10. We got 7, and then on his passive, we had a 300 second. Just to point that out, like the passive ability that he had for his revive, Hand of the Herald, I think it was. No, it wasn't Hand of the Herald. Cosmic Resurgence, so still 300. So no nerfs other than that 50, the minus 50, the 50% missing effect. So okay, so let's go to his Aura Radiance, which is now called Roar of the Void. It still stays a counterattack ability, and he still keeps the ignore targeting effect. So now he's gonna have stun, fracture, incapacitation, and paralysis, which ignores immunity. Big bonus there, because you notice that that's a lot of ABL type skills, right? So then on his applies to self, that recovery effect increases to 25% of his HP. He keeps the 100% chance to penetrate with all damage immunity. He loses out on the barrier, but he has to remove all debuff effects on here now. So he removed all debuff on his 3rd skill. He has the 100% chance to grant all damage immunity, so we don't need the barrier because we get the 100% chance to grant all damage immunity on this skill. And then he gets the increased basic attacks, basic damage, excuse me, by 100% for one attack on his third skill. Now the accumulation effect is going to be moved to his fifth skill, so don't worry, the accumulation is sort of just switched around here. But overall, still not a nerf in my opinion to the character kit at all. None. It's more improvements on the character kit. So then we get Black Spear Explosion is now going to be called Black Hole Blade. I'm really interested to see how that skill looks, but we get an 80% chance of missing attack on this skill. We lose the stun. We gain incapacitation and paralysis, but we lose the fracture as well. So we get now some additional to it is going to be he gains the invincible for 5 seconds. He also gets a nice frenzy buff, increase all basic attacks and defense by 60. All speed by 1 and critical rate by 40, which removes incapacitation. And then we have energy damage 115 of energy attack and additional 121. So this is the first place where we see a little paper nerf right there, right? So next up, Birth of a Star. I absolutely loved Birth of a Star. It was just really, really cool to me anyways, right? But we get Cosmic Horror on the kit. So we get a stun, which is increased from 1 seconds to a total of 3 seconds. We get a decrease all basic defenses by 65% on this skill now. So that's the same, remains the same. We lose out on the 80% chance of missing attack. And then on this skill is where we get the application of the accumulation for 10% of pure damage when attacking, 1% increase of all attacking. And we get still a little nerf where we see here energy damage is down to 110 and the additional energy damage is down to 70. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this kit plays out, because he's got a lot of ABL skills on here. He's got a lot of PvP skills. So I'm hoping that what we get with Silver Surfer isn't just a PvP character, but we get something that's in between, right, in terms of a PvP, PvE type character, so we can play him in World Boss Legend. We can also play him inside Otherworld Battle and Timeline Battle and have fun with the character on multiple days. Even maybe have some viability for him inside of ABL. That'd be absolutely nice for a total balance kit for a native tier 2 character of his stature. So Surfer is also going to be getting and benefiting from those stats that he's going to get from going to tier 4. I'm not very impressed with his tier 4 skill. I'm going to pop that one up so you can see why. And basically when his striker skill is used, all he's getting is like an increase all basic attack by 100%, 7 seconds, and then recovers 15% of HP. Like, realistically, to me, like, that's like boring as hell. Like, you could have put that somewhere else on the kit. It's somewhat my problem with the tier 4 in the game, is that a lot of the characters tier 4s, their striker effects, they're meh. So next up is the artifacts. Neither one of them, fortunately, neither one of them seem like, when I see bad artifacts, I'm not mad at all. Like, to be perfectly honest with you, when I see bad artifacts, I'm happy. And the reason why I'm happy is because I hate the artifact system in the game, point blank period. I think it's the worst gacha inside of Marvel Future Fight. But these basically are nothing, you know, hit or miss. Like, if you get it, then cool. If you don't get it, then whatever. Like, increase all basic attacks by 20% and additional for your instinct to all allies. Like, this could be beneficial because it will add on to his leadership ability in terms of being a support type DPS character. But I'm just not like it's cool. Like, if I plan on using Ronan, then I hope that I get this, and if I get it, cool. But if I don't, alrighty, no problem. Same for Silver Surfer, where we just get the increased basic damage to superhero faction and supervillain faction by 20%. Like, yeah, if I get it, cool. If I don't, whatever. I just move on from it. We're gonna get the uniform collection, and here goes a reason why I'm happy about this uniform collection. Notice inside of here that the reward for the uniform collection is crystals times 200. This is what we should see more of in terms of the rewards for Marvel Future Fight. Basically, I get the uniform collection and I'm getting some of my crystals back. So basically, yeah, we've purchased 1, 2, 4 uniforms inside of this update. 3 of the uniforms would be native tier 2 type uniforms for the characters, and so those bring a more, like, we know how expensive Gladiator's price tag uniform was, so we know Silver Surface is going to probably be. And then we had Ronan inside of here as well. So 4 uniforms across this update. Give me some crystals back. Something as simple as 300 crystals, but at least in my mind it goes, okay, if I buy these uniforms, I'm getting something back, somewhat of a discount. I mean, we definitely spent way more than this for all these uniforms, but because I think this is like 1,000, this was 1,750. Surfer's probably gonna be 1,750 or something like that. But I like this. I like that overall, that we're getting uniforms back in terms of that. So, you know, I'm not going to complain at all there. So that's what we've got on the plate. This update is coming tonight. I think it's a rolling update like it is normally. So basically around 7 o'clock tonight, PST, so 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we'll basically get this patch in waves and these characters will be available. So I'll jump in as long as I can and give you guys the update on first impressions on these characters. Been most excited about these, so I'm really excited about them. I hope you guys appreciate the video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment. Until next time, peace.